Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Cook County Commissioner Donna Miller, and we are live this afternoon for our Lunch and Learn program, Women in Business, during this Women's History Month, which so much to talk about and so much to focus on. So thank you all for joining us today. I know we just got started. We're going to give it a minute or two so we can build the audience. And hopefully people will join in and be participating in this really important conversation. So I'll be quiet for just maybe 1 minute. And if you're just joining us, please let us know you're here. You can put your name in the chat, just say hello so that we know that people are joining us today. This broadcast will be on our Facebook page, Cook County Commissioner Donna Miller's Facebook page. So it's always archived on this page if you happen to join in early and can't stay, or if you are watching this later. We are broadcasting this live on Friday, March 24th, and it's in support of Women in Business for Women's History Month. We're streaming live today on Facebook. So we're going to wait just a moment, couple minutes or two for people to join us. And just let us know you're here. Hello. We see some people joining. Thank you for joining us today. I do think the COVID environment taught us a little bit about how to jump in and out of meetings virtually. So it was a good learning lesson in that sense, even though some of us might not have liked it initially. It is an effective way to get people together. I see some people have joined us, so thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to get started. Today, as I mentioned before, I'm Cook County Commissioner Donna Miller, and in celebration and in honor of Women's History Month, we wanted to focus on different issues that impact women. And today, our Lunch and Learn topic is Women in Business. And just a little bit, so you know, I'm the Cook County Commissioner on the Cook County Board. You might not know this, there's 17 commissioners on the county board, and right now, 5 are women. So for those of us who like statistics, that's not where we want to be. We want to see a couple more women on the board because Cook County is 51% women. So we think the county board should be 51% women. So that might change in time. So we'll see how that looks. But I do represent the 6th district, which is all in the south and southwest suburbs, 36 different municipalities. For those who also might not know, Cook County is roughly 130 municipalities. And for those who forget that the other 129 are outside of the city of Chicago, they are. So there's 129 municipalities outside the city of Chicago. I represent 36 of those. And it's really interesting and important to focus on what happens in the whole of Cook County. But women, and especially women in business, do make up the majority of what happens in the whole of Cook County. So I am the chairwoman for the Forest Preserve District Contract Compliance Committee, as well as vice chair of the Cook County Contract Compliance Committee. And I'm championing issues that affect minority women and women in general. So we are really gathered here today and happy to have 2 wonderful speakers with us. And if, like I mentioned, we're going to be here virtually, but we're also going to be broadcasting this presentation. You can watch it later, so you can share it with all your friends who missed out on the live thing portion. But we will be able to take questions at the end. And I wanted to announce who our speakers are today. I really want to thank our speaker, who is Nicole Mandeville. She's our guest speaker, and she is the Director of Contract Compliance for Cook County. So she will go in and introduce herself in just a minute. And then we also have a woman entrepreneur with us today, Dr. Makeba Bulter, and she is going to tell us her experiences and share some insights and pearls of wisdom about being a woman entrepreneur and doing business in Cook County. So, Nicole, would you mind just going really quickly and introducing yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. My name is Nicole Mandeville. I am the current director of the Office of Contract Compliance with Cook County Government. I bring more than 20 years experience to the role, working in community development, economic development. I have a background in banking and nonprofit lending, but also have a commitment to the M&W BE utilization within Cook County government, and making sure that we are honoring our commitment to be sure that we are spending of our dollars that we spend, that we are spending that with businesses that are owned by minorities and women, but also to include veterans and persons with disabilities.
Thank you so much. And you've been doing a great job in a short period of time since you've been here. And we really are lucky to have all of your expertise in this conversation. So Dr. Butler, please take a moment and introduce yourself. Oh, you're muted. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Commissioner Miller. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here and speak on this topic, which is very important for women entrepreneurs and others alike in the space. So my name is Dr. Makeba Bulter, and I am, I've held a couple of different roles in the past. Former Associate Director of the Procurement Technical Assistance Center with the WBDC, and which is where I got a whole bunch of my knowledge as it relates to the procurement process and the certification and contracting process. I'll tell a little bit more about my story as we're talking through this session. And then also the director of the Veteran Business Outreach Program through the Wisconsin Women's Business Initiative Corporation. I was the director for that for almost 2 years. But more importantly, I'm also a women business owner. I own an educational consulting company that is certified. Gone through this process and learned a lot in my past opportunities and roles of working with different clients, been able to really guide them. And to this day, still helping women business owners to get certified in their different industries and really being able to communicate their scopes and stuff. So I'm really excited about being here and offering whatever expertise I can to help women business owners to scale and to grow in the space of procurement. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for you being here today. Thank you for your introduction and sharing all the wealth of knowledge that you have. I always believe each one teach one. And if we can learn from each other, it just makes the road that much easier. So we're so glad to have the two of you. So I'm going to let you get in. Oh, one thing I was going to say, you mentioned the acronym WBDC. So we're going to put anything that might be an acronym or something. If you could say what it is, we'll try to put those in the chat so that people can go and then look up those organizations as we're going through the presentation. So just know that if you want us to, just say, hey, go ahead, put that in the chat. We'll try to do that. All right, well, thank you. So I'm going to kick it back off to you, Nicole.
Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner Miller. I don't know. Can you see my screen yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Oh, okay. So we have a couple of tasks that we were really asked to do here today for the audience for Women's History Month. And that was to kind of walk you through our certification process here at Cook County, but not only just Cook County. I mean, the context is Cook County, but want to just be able to give you some guardrails for how we analyze things and look at things here at Cook County. And then Makeba, by all means, Dr. Butler, please forgive me for that. Jump in how you see fit. So in a nutshell, I kind of really just wanted to give everybody an idea of what our certification process looks like. I know it seems like this big mystery, paper goes in and then you wait a long period of time and out pops a decision. So the certification process here at Cook County Government, which is similar to most other entities, is kind of comprised of these 6 different categories. In the certification process, we receive a complete application from the business community or a vendor indicating that they want to be certified with Cook County government. And then we kind of have these buckets in which we do those things. So when we first get your application, we preliminarily screen the application. We really, what we do is we take the checklist that you see on our website and we make sure all the documents are there and whether they're complete. So that's kind of our preliminary screen. After we make sure all the documents that are needed are there, then we move on to the desk audit. And that's when we begin to review the documents that you provided to really kind of just say if the document is a financial statement, that is the entire financial statement. Is it true and accurate? We review all kinds of things, your resumes that are showing that you have the requisite experience for the business that you're desiring to get certified in, whatever that area of specialty is. Then after the desk audit, we move on to the financial audit. So here we have, and that's in that point, we have size standards and a personal net worth requirement. And so at that point, that's when we're looking at your financial statements. So that'll be your personal tax returns, the tax returns of your business if you have that. Hopefully you've been in business for a while, so you're able to provide that to us. And then also any other financial documents, which would be, a profit and loss statement, a cash flow statement, and or a balance sheet. Almost the next to last process would be a field audit or a field visit. We don't often go to all business owner locations, but the field audit or site visit, as we call it, is a part of the process when we are coming out to your location. If you're a construction business, we want to come and put eyes on your space to see, in fact, that you do have the equipment that you say that you have based on the inventory list that you've provided to us and so forth and so on. If you're an attorney, we're not really trying to come out to see if you're an attorney. We're able to prove that with any respective licensing or degrees that you have that prove that you're an attorney. And then on the end, after we've taken a look at all of the data, the certification team will make a decision or make a recommendation for a decision to approve or deny. And once they do that, then that information goes to a committee of people. They review it, they concur or not. And if they do or do not concur, then that decision is made known to the vendor community. More often than not, the decision is to approve that and then the final decision is rendered. So I'm going to slow down just for a quick moment. Dr. Butler, did you have anything that you want to kind of insert right here? This was just like a high level overview of the 5 or 6 different components. I didn't want to, get in the weeds because we only have an hour.
Right. And you definitely can get in the weeds with this process because,
Yes.
So the only thing that I want to add in here, Nicole, is talking from an individual that has gone through a certification process. I know that when business owners look at this, they get completely overwhelmed. It seems
Absolutely.
it seems arduous. It seems cumbersome. It feels like you're not going to be able to do this. So I just kind of want to insert my story really quick here, just so you can calm down a little bit. I remember, so I've been in Chicago now for almost 5 years. It'll be 5 years in August that I moved to Chicago from Florida. And I had in Florida, I had a very, very successful tutoring company. And so the plan was to come to Chicago and transfer that business here so that I can, grow it here in the different spectrums and areas. And so I had a lot of people that was talking to me about the certification process. You should get women, WBE certified, get minority business certified. I'm a veteran also. So they were talking about that. Mind you, in Florida, I'd never heard of any of this stuff, right? My business had never gone through that process. And so when I moved here and I started looking up on the different websites, the city website, the county website, the state website, and really trying to understand, I will tell you that as an individual, I had no idea what this was. I felt like I think I kind of like broke out in hives because I got so nervous and thinking I'm not going to qualify for this. All I saw was a bunch of big numbers. And even though my tutoring company had been very successful in the space that it was in, I just felt like this certification process was going to be over my head and I wasn't going to be able to do that. And so the reason that I tell you this is because I want you to understand, as I got into this space, I started working with the WBDC, which is the Women's Business Development Center. Great resource for people, great resource for women and men alike, but great resource for women. But I worked there, and when I started working there and really started getting into the weeds of understanding the procurement space and really understanding the certification process and the contracting process and all of that, I found out and discovered that it's really not hard, right? What makes it hard is not having all of your I's dotted and all of your T's crossed. And so when I got in the space and I started working with business owners, even to this day, I make sure that I communicate to them, here's a checklist, here's what you have, here's what you need, here's everything that's there for you. You got to make sure on your end that you are doing the work to get your business where you need to get it to. And that's what Commissioner Miller and myself and Nicole were talking about earlier, is you want to make sure that these business owners understand how important it is to be a business, right? To not be operating as a hobby, to not be operating as a side hustle, because the county doesn't certify side hustles, right? The county doesn't certify hobbies. The SBA doesn't certify those. There's a certain standard that you have to accustom yourself to and acclimate yourself to in order for your business to be able to have this process. But I want to make sure that as Nicole is continuing on, to help you to understand, it's not a difficult process. It's a thorough process, and it's a legit process. And processes that are legit only do business with legit businesses.
That's a great point, Dr. Butler. Yes, the process really is not designed to be overwhelming. So I see that Meredith is saying that she's in the beginning stage and she's stressed out. Be encouraged, because there are resources that are available to you to kind of assist you in the process. So one of the things I would say to those who are listening, just some really great tips, like be prepared, right? If you know that this is something you want to do, if you know you want to be certified, before you start pulling together your paperwork, sit down and determine, does it make sense for you to be certified? Certification is definitely a tool in your toolkit that you can utilize as a business owner. You don't necessarily have to be certified and use it to do business with Cook County government or the city of Chicago or any other municipality. You could leverage it in corporate America, and businesses do look at these things of you showing your due diligence, right? Again, they know that you're a legit business because you have gone through a certification process. But again, it is a tool in your toolkit. So the first thing I'll say is be prepared. Be prepared, gather all your documents together. Do not submit an application that is incomplete. That only delays your process, and it leads to frustration, not only to the person who's reviewing it, because then they start reviewing your file and they have to put it to the side. But it becomes frustrating to you as the vendor. You're like, what's going on with my application? What's happening? So again, before you decide you want to get certified, I would decide, who do you want to get certified with, right? Do you want to be certified with Cook County government? Do you want to be certified with the city of Chicago? Do you want to be certified with, the state of Illinois, the Women's Business Development Center, Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council? You have to decide what makes the most business sense for you. So it is a business decision. The other thing I'll say is pull all your documents together and put them in a binder. And then if you decide that you want to get certified with multiple entities, then put the binders together. So if you need one for being a WBE certified, put that binder together, put together a separate binder for MBE. If you're a veteran, VBE, put them all together at the same time, because chances are all the documents are very similar. And so if you need one for one, you're most likely going to need that for the other. The next
Nicole,
thing.
if
Sure.
if I can hop in real quick. So
Yes.
on the heels of what Nicole just said, um, the so the state has a certification process, the county has a certification process, the city has a certification process, the federal government has a certification process, and nobody speaks to one another.
Nope.
And so and so one of the things that I used to hear all the time with clients is, do I have to do this process with all of them? And the answer is a resounding yes. But as Nicole just stated, a lot of the documentation that's going to be needed from one entity to another is probably going to be the same or be very similar. And so even though you're going to find yourself having to do it over and over again, it's not where you have to, gather all of these documents, different types of documents for different processes. But that's what I wanted to hit on, is the number one reason that it's hard for businesses, or that businesses say it's hard for them, is because they don't have their documentation together. And so when they're going to try to put that certification application in, it's like they're T-bone, and they're like, well, I don't have my taxes for this year. I don't have this for this year. I don't know how to. You got to make sure you have all your documentation together.
Thank you for that. And so that gets back to like knowing our requirements. Like Dr. Butler said, everybody has different requirements. And so I'm going to pause for a real quick moment because this conversation has come up a lot. Reciprocity. A lot of the municipalities have reciprocity agreements or recognition agreements or fast track agreements, but we all have maybe some semblance of an agreement with each other. So again, the know your requirement is whether you understand there's a recognition agreement, a reciprocity agreement, you have to still pause and know the requirements. So for Cook County government, familiarize yourself with our requirements, what we are asking for, especially if you're coming to us to get certified. If you come to us to get certified and you start telling us what the city of Chicago is doing, we're not listening, because that's the city of Chicago's program, not our program. While there may be similarities between Cook County government's program and the city of Chicago's program, at the end of the day, like Dr. Butler mentioned earlier, like each program has its own program requirements and has their own rules and regulations on how they govern themselves. So I would say familiarize yourself with our process, but know the requirements. You can always go to our website and you could pull down our checklist, and the checklist will list out all of the required documents per your entity type. So obviously there are different types of documents that are required based on your organizational structure, whether you're a sole proprietor or corporation, a limited liability company, or a limited liability partnership. So just be sure that as you're gathering your information, that you take a step back and look at, okay, so what are all the required documents for my particular organizational structure? And then again, please submit a complete application, because again, if you don't, then that just adds time to your process when you're trying to get certified. And then again, if you submit information to us and we ask you to provide additional information, please do your best to respond timely. And I have RFI, which is request for information for short, because I didn't have a lot of space in my bubble. But again, all of this is fluid. There are other people who are trying to get certified. So just know that if your application is missing something, if it takes you like 10 business days, which is literally 2 weeks, to give us information, that's 2 weeks that your file sits. So again, these are all tips to help you have a better experience when you come through our doors getting certified. And then next, the last two things I really want to highlight is NAICS codes mattered. I wish I can call the acronym out. I think it's the North American Industry Code
Classification.
Oh, classification system, right? And you often hear us say NAICS codes. Some places you hear them say NIGP codes. But when you get certified, what we're looking for is you have to tell us what area of specialty that you're getting certified in. I would encourage you to be as specific as possible. If you say, I want to be certified in IT professional services, that could cover a whole bunch of different types of subcategories. So, these codes are assigned to you at certification. When you become certified, then vendors, whether they're prime vendors, whether it's user departments within Cook County government, whether it's private corporations, they're going to search our database based on those areas of specialty that are assigned to you and be able to make a determination, is this an entity or a business that I would want to do business with? Because, it says right here that they provide information technology services. More importantly, they can provide network engineering and design, or, they are authorized reseller of laptops. I'm being really general here. So sometimes you have all of these areas of expertise, so you're not really sure how to narrow it down. The PTACs, the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers, can kind of help you walk through that by leveraging like what makes the most sense for you. We often talk about have a good capability statement, and maybe Dr. Butler, if you might want to just kind of help explain it a little bit better for like why the being as specific as you can for NICS codes is helpful in the certification process, and how the PTAC can kind of help you refine, hey, these are my areas of specialty. How do people know I'm available to do business?
Absolutely. So I actually have I've prepared a 2-slide little procurement tips presentation.
You want me to take mine down, or
you finished with yours?
I only had one other. I really had just one other.
It
was kind of a little funny, like secure the bag. Everybody wants to know where the money is, right? And so I would be remiss if I didn't say this is how you try to secure your own bag, right? So a lot of times, and then this can kind of play into what you're going to share out with everyone. Once you get certified, the next question is, I'm certified now, what do I do next? Do not mistake being certified, meaning that opportunities will just fall in your lap. There is homework that you have to do. You're not done once you're certified. There are things that you continue to do, but here's some useful things that I think would be helpful to you once you get certified. Once you get certified with us, it is probably very important for you to get registered with purchasing, which is our procurement office here at the OCPO's office here at Cook County Government. Why? Because it helps you identify what our current contracting opportunities are. It lets you know what's open, what's coming down the pike, what we're procuring right now. It's very specific. So if you go to the CPO's website right now, you're able to, you should register with the CPO's office. Once you register with the CPO's office, anytime a solicitation comes out, if you choose how you want to receive that communication, you could say, I only want to be emailed when you do solicitations that are specific to my area of specialty, or I don't want to be emailed at all, or, hey, every time something comes out, please make me aware. If you register with the Chief Procurement Office on their website, then you're able to get those notices. So that's a tool for you to utilize. And then also we have an interactive website on the Chief Procurement Office's website. It's very interactive. It's not like you've got to scour through trees in the forest to kind of figure out what we're doing here. So once you hit that webpage, you're able to see what Cook County government is procuring, but we even take it a step further. You can see what the sister agencies are doing, meaning what is Brookfield Zoo trying to buy? What is Chicago Botanic Gardens buying? What is the Forest Preserves buying? What is Cook County Hospital buying? You're able to see all of these things. So it gives you an idea of what are some of the opportunities look like. And then when you start thinking about how to identify opportunities, you might want to be thinking about how are you going to forecast and how are you going to be ready for those opportunities when they present themselves. So we have a semi-annual buying plan. Cook County releases its buying plan twice a year. So our most recent buying plan is up, and you can still find that on the CPO's website. Review the buying plan, because what it is a forecast of what the user departments in Cook County government are going to purchase within a given year. So this gives you an opportunity to strategize on what makes sense for you as a business owner. And then other tools for your toolkit: review prior winning bids. See who won the bid before. If you have an interest in a particular type of contract, see who won the bid before. Review that prior contract. See how they priced it. See who they used. Maybe you're able to, based on that, introduce yourself to the winning prime or the subs who participated to get an idea or some experience and knowledge from them on what that process was like. And again, whenever there is a pre-bid conference for any solicitation that goes out, you should attend those because it is a networking opportunity. So it's the same as attending industry events. These all are ways for you to grow your business and to help you expand your business capabilities. And again, as we say, network. That is a way for you to really be able to grow your business. It's not a one and done. It is constant and continual work. So I am going to take my slides down so Dr. Butler can pull hers up. And you're muted.
One of these days, I'm going to get that right. All right, let's see. Screen. All right, so can you see that?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, so I wrote down a couple of notes as Nicole was talking, and I'll talk about those a little bit as I'm sharing some procurement success tips for you from the perspective of a business owner and from the perspective of someone who has worked within the Procurement Technical Assistance Center in the space of helping businesses to kind of navigate through this process. So the first tip that I want to give you is you want to make sure that your business is foundationally structured. And so I know that this seems very elementary, but it is something that is, you would not believe the number of conversations that I have had with business owners or prospective business owners who want to go through the certification process because certification looks like it kind of looks like the shiny silver object that everybody in business wants to get. They want to have a certification so that they can go get these contracts, but they haven't done the preliminary work, which is to make sure their business is foundationally structured. And so what I mean by foundationally structured, you want to make sure that your business has a registration with the Secretary of State office. That means you want to make sure that your business is registered as an LLC, an LLP, organization, whatever. You want to make sure that your business has a legal entity assigned to it, okay? And then you want to make sure that your business has an EIN, which is an employee identification number, free through the IRS. You want to make sure that you have a business bank account because when you're going through the certification process of wanting to get that certification, you're going to have to show financial statements, right? You're going to have to show your business bank account information. You're going to have to show that you are the guarantor of that business bank account. So you're going to have certain documentation that shows that it cannot be a personal bank account. And so the conversations that I've had with business owners, they're like, oh, I have a business bank account. And I say, well, how do you have a business bank account without a registration or an EIN number? And it turns out that they have a personal bank account that they're using for their business. You can't have one without the other, right? And so I'm actually kind of giving you these steps in the order that you should do it because you're not necessarily going to be able to get a business bank account unless you have that form that shows that you are registered with the state and that you have an EIN number through. And why the EIN number is important is because sole proprietors don't get certified. So your LLCs, your LLPs, so on and so forth. So that showcases that you have that in place. Another thing that you want to have in place is an operating agreement, which is a very simple document. You can get it offline. It's a very simple document that you can just fill in, and it shows the operating processes of your business. So very, very elementary, very low level, but just showing how your business is operating in the process of its functioning. So you want to make sure you have that. The reason why that operating agreement is important is because, and I've had it done on a couple of different times for myself. One bank didn't require that I have an operating agreement to open up the bank account, then the other bank did. And so you may need an operating agreement to open up your business bank account, dependent upon where you're choosing to bank at. All right. So the operating agreement is just something to have in place in your toolbox, in your arsenal of documents, as you are building the positioning of your business and getting it prepared and ready to actually apply for that certification and be who you need to be for as a subcontractor. Number two, you want to make sure that you have a capability statement. And so that's what Nicole was talking about earlier. And I'll just give you a little bit of information about capability statement. Number one, you can get that online. You can find capability statement samples online that you can kind of model your capability statement after. Or you can, the WBDC, the Women's Business Development Center, has counselors there who they have a template that you can use. You can get your free services through the WBDC or the Procurement Technical Assistance Centers near you, and they can give you a template of a capability statement, but it's super simple. It is basically like a resume for your business. So it's complete with company information, core competencies of your business, past performance or work. Performance is known as work in the space. So past performance, differentiators, and qualifying credentials. So this is kind of a running fluid document of work as you do it that you want to make sure that you have, because this is a document that speaks for you in the face of prime contractors or government agencies with whom you want to do business. And so you want to make sure that you have that capability statement. It doesn't need to be perfect, but it does need to be in existence. And point of reference for you is the capability statement has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with your business. So you don't want to put information on the capability statement about you because the prime contractor or the government agency is not really interested in you per se on this capability. They're interested in the work and the efficiency and the positioning of your business in the space. Okay. So you want to make sure that you have a capability statement. And then number three, you want to make sure that you have a resume. So Nicole made mention of a resume as part of the process that you go through when they are verifying your documentation and making sure that you have the significant and aligning experience for the opportunity that you are trying to procure. Okay. So you want to make sure that your resume is up to date and that it highlights significant and aligning experience as outlined in your scope of work. And speaking of scope of work, this is very important. Number four, you want to make sure that you can clearly and confidently communicate what that scope of work is. I cannot tell you the number of conversations that I have had with business owners in my professional space. When I ask them, what do you do? They cannot tell me what they do. They know what they do in their head, but they can't communicate what they do. And that's a problem. You want to be able to communicate your scope of work very, very with brevity, very concisely, but very comprehensively. You want to be able to do that. So to do that, you want to maybe kind of answer these three questions in being able to clearly and confidently communicate your scope of business. So you may want to ask, what does my business do? So can you answer that question? Can you clearly pitch your business in 30 seconds or less to whoever is asking you? Can you effectively answer the WIFM question, which is what's in it for me, right? So when you are wanting to be a subcontractor on an opportunity, can you let them know how your business is going to help them to meet that contract obligation? Okay. You can't just hang on to your certification because, as Nicole stated earlier, your certification is simply a tool. It is not the golden ticket. I believe in the comment section, there was someone who said that their certification had expired and they have to go through the process again. So you want to make sure you stay on top of that. But I remember having a conversation with a young lady when I was in the space, and she said that she wasn't sure if she was going to let her certification renew her certification because she didn't feel like it was any benefit for her. And the conversation that I had with her was a very tough conversation, but I had to let her know you have to work the certification. The certification doesn't work for you. It's just used as a tool for you to be able to position yourself better. Like if you're a woman business owner, that certification is going to help put you in a room, possibly when, bidding against other women-owned businesses, but you still got to work the certification. You still got to build the relationships. You still got to get out there and read up on the notifications. You still have to look at the RFIs and the RFPs. So you want to make sure that you do that. Number 5, you want to make sure that you do your research on prime suppliers that you can support to ensure that both of the scopes align. What I mean by that is the scope of work that you say you do and the scope of work that they do. Does both scopes align? Because if they don't align, or if it's not in a supporting feature, then you're not going to be able to answer the WIFM question, like what's in it for me? Like they're going to be like, well, great business, but this isn't going to help me with what I'm trying to do for this contract, right? And so you want to make sure that you do the research, that you look up these prime contractors Nicole mentioned earlier, look at some of the past contracts that were awarded, see who got awarded those contracts, because it's not far-fetched to think that those people who were awarded those contracts get awarded a lot of contracts. And so maybe you want to develop relationships with those individuals if what they do aligns with what you do, so that you can possibly be an option when the next time, when the next opportunity comes down.
You know what? I just want to interject on your point number 5, when you were saying to do your research to make sure the scopes align. I think to add to that, you also want to make sure that the alignment is that there's alignment in, do your core beliefs line up with their core beliefs and mission? So that's kind of very personal, but you don't want to fundamentally do business with the business and you don't believe and you don't like how they do business. So don't just go after contracts because, the prime contacted me and it's an opportunity. You might want to do that, but you want to make sure that there's some synergy there, so you can make sure that you have a successful relationship when you do work together. So that is something else to take into consideration.
Thank you, Nicole. And that what she's saying is very true. I can't tell you how many times I've had primes reach out to me by email because my NIGP code matched. So the thing about NIGP codes, and speaking of that, we're on number 6, but the thing about NIGP codes is you can have a overarching NIGP code that matches some element of what you do in scope, but it covers a plethora of different ways that can be done. For instance, training and development. So training and development that you might do is under the umbrella of one description, but they need training and development assistance in information technology, and that's not what you do. And so you have to be, when you look at, again, that goes back to looking at the scopes and making sure the scopes align, and then making sure that you're going to be able, that your resume shows that you've had experience in that your business has had experience in that, and that you can actually fulfill the contract with integrity, right? It doesn't help you to be able to say, yeah, I can do that. And then when the time comes, you're not able to do that because you've never been able to do that. So the bottom line is the prime is trying to look for people to be able to help them fulfill this contract, right? So if you say you can do it, they're going to continue the conversation with you, but it's up to you to make sure that you can actually do it. So make sure that you are clear on your NAICS codes, your NAICS codes, and your NIGP codes. And these codes are, as Nicole mentioned earlier, these codes just basically describe the scope of work that you do. So whatever your business does for the industry, whatever your business does in work or performance, that's what the NAICS codes and the NIGP codes are assigned under. Number 7, you want to make sure that you have the capacity to fulfill contracts as a sub or prime supplier. Again, you have no idea how many conversations I've had with business owners who they get stars in their eyes when they see these contracts and they hear the word, certification. We need more veterans certified, or we need more minority individuals certified, and they want to get these certifications because they want to be able to go after these contracts, but they don't have the underlying capacity to be able to fulfill these contracts. And when I talk about capacity, I'm simply talking about financial capacity and human capacity. So do you have the financial, what's the word I'm looking for? Support to be able to carry yourself as you are waiting for payment for these contracts and this contract work that you're doing? Or do you have the financial ability, if you're a prime, do you have the financial ability to be able to pay, your subs as they're working? They're going to want to know that. Do you have the human capacity? So if you are a 2-man operation and you're putting in for a contract that requires a 10-man operation, but you feel like you can do it because you really want to do contracting, do you have the capacity to really fulfill this contract and give it what it needs to have it done by the appropriate deadline? Because if you don't, your relationship is going to be, messed up, and you won't be able to work with that prime again. So you just want to take all of that into consideration and build yourself up as a viable supplier to be able to do the work when the time comes. I tell people all the time, procurement, contracting, it should be one of your buckets in your business. It should not be the main bucket, especially as a newer business or a business that's probably like 1 to 5 year, 1 to 7 year, because it takes time to build up the ability to do those big number contracts. And then the last tip is to make sure your website, your company information is up to date. I say this from personal experience because I would probably say maybe 30 to 40% of the inquiries that I get from prime contractors come from my website. They go to my website, which is listed. They go to my website and they'll send me a message through my website asking me about my work. So you want to make sure that your website is up to date. If you don't have a website, you want to get a website. And these are like basic things that you want to do as a business owner because it's just understood and it's expected that if you are a business owner looking to get $100,000 contracts, $200,000 contracts, you got a website, right? That's just understood. They just expect that. So you want to make sure that your website and your company information is up to date. The last thing I'm going to tell you is education is key. So you want to commit yourself to the continual process of professional development, learning the specifics of the procurement and contract acquisition process so that you are prepared. The 3 things that I wrote down about what Nicole said. So going back to reciprocity, I know that word is hot and heavy. A lot of people, because I've had the conversations with past clients about reciprocity. And what I want to say, and Nicole, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but what reciprocity simply means is one agency will recognize your certification in their space. That's all that means. It doesn't change the rules that goes along with the county or the rules that go along with the city or the rules that go along with the state. It just means that if there's a contract opportunity that's available and you have a certification with a reciprocating agency, they will accept that contract and you don't have to be, they will accept that certification and you wouldn't have to go through that process with them for that particular contract. Is that correct?
That is very correct. And I think to take that a step further, yes, here at Cook County government, we do have a reciprocity agreement with the city of Chicago. And that does mean here, if you are currently certified with the city of Chicago, you can perform on our contracts here at Cook County government. You have to prove that you're certified. And then there's an affidavit form that you fill out and you submit with any proposal or solicitation or bid that you are looking to perform on. It does not mean, let me clarify, it does not mean that if we make changes to our program, that the city will automatically make changes to its program and vice versa. If the city of Chicago makes changes to its program, it does not mean that Cook County government automatically makes changes to its program or even will make changes to its program. It does not indicate that the programs mirror each other. There may be similarities because all of our programs exist to make sure that we're increasing spend with minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses, but be clear that like each entity has an understanding of what that is and that it's that plus. And those agreements are that's in the weeds. But again, just make sure you understand that is what you're doing here. If you're doing reciprocity, then that means you can serve on our contracts, perform on our contracts if you're certified with the City of Chicago without having to come through our process and being certified.
Yep. Thank you, Nicole. I just thought that was important because you know me, you both know that that's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing. And sometimes even like with the state of Illinois has something baked into their law that says they have to have reciprocity, but it doesn't mean that. And so it means something different when we talk about the state. So if you're certified with Cook County government, the state of Illinois, you can't just perform on a state of Illinois contract, but you can come into their vendor pool. You can get certified with them on an expedited fashion. So again, you have to make sure that you kind of understand what's left. I mean, not what's left. You have to make sure you understand like what the nuances are between the various programs.
Perfect. And then so the last thing that I want to say, I know Commissioner Miller is on. I'm going to be done in 1 second, Commissioner. The last thing that I want to say is gathering documents, just piggybacking on what Nicole said earlier. What I used to tell my clients and what I still tell people, even when I give them information, is don't even start the process until you have all of your documents in front of you. Because as Nicole mentioned, once you start that process, if you don't have something, the process doesn't stop so that you can get your stuff together. It's going to keep going and your time is going to keep ticking. And so you want to make sure, sorry, my computer's dying. You want to make sure that you have all of your documents in front of you and make sure you have them all together. And if you have questions, reach out and ask someone what you need to have in its place. And just set yourself up for success because the process isn't difficult, but as I mentioned earlier, it's legit. It's a legit process. So,
and just a small tidbit to that right there. Before you bring your applications to us, you can always go to a procurement technical assistance center. They will review your application for you. They know what we're looking for. So that's a free service that they provide. You have that access to, business coaching and counseling at a procurement technical assistance center. So you most definitely want to leverage that if you're not leveraging those resources in your community.
Well, thank you both. Thank you, Nicole, Dr. Butler. Those were really great tips and process-oriented, focused things that can be done to make this whole process seamless or as seamless as can be. We do have a couple of questions in the chat that I wanted to get to. You mentioned a checklist before, and so someone asked, where's the checklist? I just wanted to let them know that the checklist is in the chat, but I just wanted Nicole, if she could just highlight very quickly, I know it's a very comprehensive list, but very quickly what that checklist entails. And then number two, Nicole, if you could also go back to those technical assistance providers that are able to help. If there is a resource that we can add to the chat where people can look up those technical resource assistants, I think that's another missing piece that people might forget or not know about.
So I'll do the last one first because it might be a little bit easier. So across the country, but of course, including the state and Cook County, right? There is a network of small business development centers, and you hear us use the acronym SBDCs. And then you also hear us say PTAC a lot, and that's Procurement Technical Assistance Centers. So these centers are, stationed throughout the state of Illinois and by regions where you can go in and you can get, you can meet with a business counselor who could do coaching with you. They can help you strategize, think through your business. If you need help developing a business plan, some of these SBDCs do free or low cost training. A lot of them are attached to the university system.
So SBDC, Small Business Development
Center. And so there is, I think it's APTAC is alpha, so aptac.org. If you plug that into your browser, it should come up and you can load in your zip code and it will tell you where the nearest Procurement Technical Assistance Center is to you.
Okay, we're going to put that in the chat. Let me just ask them to put that in the chat. That's very helpful.
if you're located in Chicago proper, not to dismiss the South suburbs, but the Women's Business Development Center is a small business development center, and it is also a procurement technical assistance center and a women's business center. Don't let the title fool you. They provide all of these services. They're providing the training. They understand government contracting. They can help you with that. We have out in the Southland, you have Governor State University. You could always go to colleges of business to provide support. There is a small business development center there, I still believe. And I believe there is an extension of the Women's Business Center in the Southland as well to provide support. But again, if you're in the Southland, you know, there is Prairie State College. There's resources there that you can take advantage of. There's South Suburban Community College, depending on how far south you want to go. Well, that's Will County, so that's too far. But then there's the College of DuPage. So, you know, our marketplace is combined not only of Cook County, but the collar counties as well. And so you do have, you know, these coaches who are available. And like Dr. Butler says, has said, she knows from direct experience that, you know, there are training curriculum available. Some of them provide, you know, a 1 to 2 hour training session where there's a lunch and learn. They may do cohorts where there's like a multi-week training session geared toward a particular aspect of your business that you may need assistance with. So, so that those are some of the tools. There's so many. I'm trying to figure out which ones make the most sense. So I wanted to give you that. And then, like with respect to the checklist is rather long, but I'll just run through like probably the most comprehensive checklist, which is our Schedule A. This is somebody who's never been certified with Cook County government. It asks for the whole kit and caboodle. So some of those forms that we're looking for that are mandatory documents, right? So, you know, to be eligible for these programs, you have to prove that your business is 51% owned and operated by a minority or a woman, right? So those documents that we're looking for, if we ask you for your ID, we need your ID. It's not optional. The information comes into Secure Portal. We also have a personal net worth requirement. So that's a form. You need to fill that form out and provide that to us. We also need your tax returns. If we're asking for 5 years worth of tax returns, we want 5 years worth of tax returns, not only for you, but for your business. So we're looking for that. If there's any W-2s or 1099 forms, we're looking for that as well. If there's more than one owner, then we need the W-2s and the tax returns of all of the owners as well. But we also need to know the information of the owners, directors, any high-level officers, managers, or check signers. But for us, we want 5 years worth of tax returns for the business, any affiliates. As Dr. Butler mentioned earlier, when it comes to bank information, we need a copy of your signature card and any resolutions that go with that. We're looking for your payroll register. So if you're a business and you're paying your employees, we need to see that. We want 4 weeks worth of that information. We also need to see your balance sheet and income statement for the last 5 years. To prove that you have capacity, we're looking for copies of your most recent contracts that you performed on, or purchase orders or invoices. These are all documents that we use to help show that you have capacity. If your industry or your business requires a license to operate, you have to provide that. So if you're going to do business in the city of Chicago, you know you have to have a business license for that. So if that's where you're operating, but you're still coming to us, we still need to have that license as well. When it comes down to proving ethnicity and gender, outside of looking at your driver's license and you providing that to us, we need either a birth certificate or a passport. That will help us determine gender and ethnicity. And then we're also looking for, which kind of hems people up a lot of times, is, and this is really big, proof of contribution by the owner, whether it's startup capital or ownership in the firm. Sometimes people will say, oh, well, you know, I started my business 20 years ago. I couldn't possibly, you know, still know what my initial contribution is. If this is not a hobby to you, all of these documents that you are using to establish your business, you need to get an envelope. If it's old school, get a Pendaflex folder and keep your documents go to the lockbox, put it in a lockbox, whatever you have to do. But if you tell us that document was prepared 20 years ago, we want that document from 20 years ago to show where your startup capital has come from, whether that's in the form of a canceled check, whether that was a personal loan and you made a loan agreement between yourself and the business, or if that's simply you providing copies of your bank statements. So those are the kinds of things we're looking for to prove ownership. When we're looking to understand whether you have the requisite experience, we're looking for resumes, not only of the owner, but we're also looking for key personnel to provide their resumes as well. And then if you're saying, hey, we have a space, this is my office space, then we're looking for those leases. You could provide that as well. And then some of those mandatory documents, stock ledgers, corporate minutes, stock certificates, obviously your articles of incorporation, your bylaws, and then minutes of your most recent board meeting. So again, those are all some of the high level things that we would need. Now, these are the things that are on our checklist. Please do not think that we would not come back and ask for more information. So we do have our checklist, but sometimes in our review of certification files, we will ask for additional information to get clarity on whether or not you can provide that you're actually the true owner, that's 51% owner and controlled, or also if you have the capacity to perform that scope of work that you've identified with your certification application.
Well, thank you, Nicole. I know we have a ton of information, but we're at time. There's one more question I want to make sure we answer, and then we're going to wrap it up. Okay, ladies? So the question was, if you're in the service industry and may not have a sizable contribution, I don't know. Can someone else see that question? So,
yeah, I think what she's asking, Carla, if I'm not mistaken, I believe what she's asking is, so the question is, what if you are in the service industry and may not have a sizable initial contribution other than what it took to open the account? So Nicole can like elaborate a little bit more on this, but I think what she means is like opening your account. So one of the things that you want to make sure you include when you are talking about finding your account and like what does it take for you to do the business? So all of your office supplies, like
your computer,
yeah, for you to invest in the business. All of that. It's not just like it's not only
cash. Money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not only liquid cash. If it took you $100, that's what you did to open your account, that's fine. But if you spent like $2,000 to $3,000 on equipment, whether that it counts as well. So hold on to your receipts. If you're not holding on to your receipts, please hold on to your receipts. All of those things are helpful, and we look at that.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being here. This was an enlightening conversation. It really, I think, has outlined what women specifically, but this applies to men too, but we're focused on women this month because it's Women's History Month. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a shout out to the amazing Hetty Ratner from the Women's Business Development Center. When I hear her talk about how she started that organization because women did not have any seat at the table and were not a consideration and needed resources and tools to understand how they could effectively compete in business, and just to know that she revolutionized that whole Women's Business Development Center so many years ago, and we wouldn't be nearly as far ahead as we are today without her foresight and insight. And I'm proud of her, and I've known her for many years, and happy to see that Dr. Butler has used that Women's Business Development Center. And for all of those people who are listening, if you have not gotten these tools and resources that were mentioned on this meeting today, please get your ducks in order and get everything that you need so that you can effectively be in the mix. I mean, really, that's what it takes so that you can be the women-owned business that we're looking for, that we need in our communities, but you have to do the background work that was so eloquently outlined here. So if you guys just want to close with 1 minute, we're a little over time, but I'll just let you each close. I thank you both so much for being here. Nicole Mandeville from the Cook County is the Director of Contract Compliance. Please, do you want to just say a few closing remarks?
Sure. I'll make it really quick. I just want for everybody to know that help does exist for you. You can get the help that you need. Don't struggle and try to figure it out on your own. We have resources in the community. Somebody always knows somebody who can get you to that person if you can't get the answer you need. But please feel free to leverage the resources that we have in the community and to help you in your process. We're all here for you and wish you the best.
And thank you for that. And Dr. Butler, thank you for your slides as well. And also we're going to ask if you can share those and we can put those on our website or on the Facebook page as another resource for people. But thank you for outlining that process and sharing your own personal story. Do you want to just close very quickly?
Yeah, so just piggybacking off of what Nicole said, just in a world of business where free information isn't typically always known as transformational information, in this space, free information is something you can bet on. So if you need to get free information from the different resourcing agencies, support agencies that are out there to help you get where you need to be, you need to take advantage of that free information because you don't get free information like that all the time.
So true. Well, thank you, ladies. This was great. Women in Business, Women's History Month. And we hope we inspire and at least gave some information to someone who needed it. And again, any questions, I'm sure all of us are here as resources. If you have any questions, you can reach out to my office and I can help hopefully direct you to the right person. And we'll put everyone's contact information in the chat as well. Thank you all for being here today. Have a great Friday.